Hello viewers, today we will be learning the final poem for class 10 students called The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Now coming to the poet, who is Alfred Lord Tennyson? Let us see some facts about him. He was born on 6th August 1809 and died on 6th October 1892. He is the typical Victorian poet, voicing in his poetry the hopes and aspirations, the doubts and skepticism, the refined culture and the religious liberations of the age. So these are actually the characteristic or the trait of a Victorian writer, and Alfred Lord Tennyson has or possesses all these qualities in his writing. That's why he was often regarded as the chief representative of the Victorian age in poetry. And this is his educational background. Tennyson attended Trinity College, and in Cambridge he also became friends with a historian and a poet called Arthur Henry Hallam. He also joined a club of intellectuals called the Apostles. So from the type of club which he joined, we can understand that Alfred Lord Tennyson, he was a genius man. In the year 1850, Tennyson was appointed to the position of Poet Laureate. Now, what is a Poet Laureate? I'll tell you, a Poet Laureate is an eminent poet who is appointed as a member of the British royal household. And Tennyson had written many poems, but among his poems, the best known poems are The Charge of the Light Brigade, which we are about to learn, and Crossing the Bar. These are his short works, and he has longer works too. So his longer works, called In Memoriam, is also an elegy. It was written for his grief over the untimely death of a friend, which was based on Arthur Henry Hallam and written in the type of Arthurian legend. Now let's recite the poem together. The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death, rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Forward the Light Brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Dares not to make reply, dares not to reason why, dares but to do and die. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell. Boldly they rode and well into the jaws of death, into the mouth of hell rode the 600. Flashed all their sabres bare, flashed as they turned in ear, sabring the gunners there, charging an army, while all the world wondered. Plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke, Cossack and Russian. Reeled from the sabre stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them volleyed and thundered, stormed at with shot and shell, while horse and hero fell. They that had fought so well came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, all that was left of them, left of 600. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they met, all the world wondered. Honor the charge they met, honor the Light Brigade, noble 600. So that's the recitation of the poem. I hope from the recitation you must have some ideas what the poem is actually about, because you have come across the words like cannon, like shot and shell. So this is about a war. You're right. Coming to the poem. About the poem, this poem was written to memorialize a suicidal charge by light cavalry over open terrain by British forces in the Battle of Balaclava in the Crimean War, that is in 1854 to 1856. Like I told you, this is about a war, and the name of the war is Crimean War. This was fought between the British forces and the Russian forces. And the British forces, they charged with light cavalry. They don't have weapons like cannons, but they charge only with sabers like swords. Tennyson published this heroic and rousing poem in The Examiner on December 9, 1854 to commemorate the valiant actions of the Light Brigade that fought this battle in the Crimean War. So the poet published his poem in a periodical called The Examiner. Periodicals like it was published every week. It is like a newspaper, not exactly a newspaper which used to be issued only on weekends or something like that. So the name of the periodical is called Examiner. And like I told you, during the Crimean War, this is the only war where you can get update about what happened in the battlefield through like the civilization of telegram and all. So Tennyson probably read through newspaper, and from there he was inspired to write the poem. And this heroic and rousing poem, he published it in The Examiner on December 9, 1854. The poem has 6 stanzas of different lengths. The meter is dactylic, meaning that one stressed syllable is succeeded by 2 unstressed syllables. So this poem, the structure of the poem, you see the 6th stanza does not have a proper line, like they have different lengths, and the meter is dactylic. When we say dactylic, it means that the syllable one is stressed and then it is succeeded by 2 unstressed syllable. Syllable means 1 unit of sound. So for example, if there are syllables in the poem, then the first one is stressed, is accented, and the second 2 syllables are unstressed or unaccented. The rhyme scheme is very irregular, so there is no proper rhyming scheme in the poem. These are the literary devices used in the poem. Let's see them one by one. Repetition. The poet uses repetition several times in the poem. You see, half a league is repeated 3 times. So repetition is a literary device that repeats the same word or phrases a few times to make the idea clearer. So here, half a league, half a league, half a league onward. So 3 times it is repeated, this phrase. Rode the 600 is also repeated. Forward the Light Brigade, cannons to right of them, cannons to left of them, cannons in front of them. All the world wondered. These are repetition which we will find in the poem. Then we have anaphora. Please do not get confused with repetition. When we say anaphora, it means repetition of same words in the starting of a number of consecutive lines. Here you see cannon to the right of them, cannon to the left of them, cannon in front of them. Here, not the whole phrase are repeated. It's only the starting one, cannon. Cannon is repeated. That is anaphora. Cannon to the right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them. So cannon, cannon, cannon. This is anaphora, where the starting of a number, the same words is there in the starting of a number or consecutive lines. Alliteration. Alliteration is like a repetition of a same consonant sound. Here. Storm at which shot and shell. Here, is repeated. So the sound is repeated. That is alliteration. There's but to do and die. Dear, do, die. Repetition of the consonant sound the. Then all the world wondered. Were sound is repeated. While horse and hero fell. Ha, ha sound is repeated. These are consonant sound which are repeated. That is called alliteration. Then we have personification. Personification is like giving human qualities to those inanimate objects, or like treating an abstract ideas to giving human qualities, like the mouth of hell, the jaws of death. Death is personified. Death is treated like human being, as if death has human qualities. The jaws of death, the mouth of hell, these are personification. Then we have metaphor. Metaphor is is a direct comparison of unlike things, two unlike things, where one word is replaced by another word. Here the valley of death is actually a metaphor for the battlefield. The battlefield is compared with the valley of death. Coming to the explanation of the poem, The Charge of the Light Brigade by Alfred Lord Tennyson. The first stanza, let us see. Half a league, half a league, half a league onward, all in the valley of death rode the 600. Forward, the Light Brigade, charge for the guns, he said. Into the valley of death rode the 600. Here, what we can see is that the poem is telling the story of a brigade consisting of 600 soldiers who rode on horseback, and they are charging their enemies. But the weapons that they have, you see, the brigade, they were only armed with lances and sword. Lances means like a bow or spear, and saber means sword. So a light brigade means a brigade means a horse-mounted cavalry, and they were called the light brigade because they were using smaller and faster horse, and their weapons were very light, like bows and spears and swords. And you see, these soldiers were commanded by their leader to march towards the enemy, which was probably half a league. Means 1 league is equal to 3 miles. Half, then it will be equal to 1.5 miles, isn't it? So half a league, half a league, half a league onward means the commander commanded them to charge the enemies, in the battlefield, and they were forwarding or going towards the enemy, which was probably 1.5 miles ahead, and they were 600 in number. And according to the poet, they were marching into the valley of death. Forward, the Light Brigade charge for the guns means go forward, the Light Brigade, and you go and charge the enemies. This was a command given by the commander, and they were going to the battlefield. But however, here it is instead of saying go to the battlefield, it is written as into the valley of death. Why? Because the poet uses this valley of death to show that they are soon going to be killed. And not only that, this valley of death is actually taken from a Bible, Psalm 23, where you'll find the verse as, "Yea, though I walk through the shadow of the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me." So here probably it might also mean that the soldiers, they know that they are surely going to die when they approach or when they forward to the enemies, and when they go to the battlefield, their only hope is God. Though they walk into the valley of death, they still have a hope that God will protect them. Or in other words, it also means that the battlefield is they know that once they get into that, they will surely die, because we know that they were only with bows, spears, and swords, while the enemies, they have cannons, they have guns, they are sure to die. So they are going to their own burial, let's say. So these 600 soldiers, they were approaching towards the enemy, 1.5 miles into the valley of death, and the commander gave them command that they should move forward and they should charge for the guns. That is about the first stanza. Coming to the second stanza. Forward, the Light Brigade. Was there a man dismayed? Not though the soldier knew someone had blundered. Dares not to make reply, dares not to reason why, dares but to do and die. Into the valley of that rode the 600. Now let's say that this is the battlefield. They were forwarding. The Light Brigade were forwarding. And here in the second stanza, we can see that it begins with a command given by the leader that they should forward their approach. And the poet wonders, like, will there be any man or a soldier who are frightened, because a very great fatal death is waiting for them. But what we can see from here is that someone had blundered, means their leader had made a mistake by commanding them to march forward. However, the soldiers, even if they know that they are not in a position to make reply, or they are not in a position to reason why the commander give them such command, because their duty is to do what? Their duty is to fight and to die, which means that the soldiers here, they are very loyal towards the commander, towards their leader. Though they know that they are surely going to die, they do not make a reply, or they do not reason their leader. So into the value of that, what they have to do is to fight and to die. So these 600 soldiers, they went to the battlefield to fight the enemies. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon in front of them, volleyed and thundered, stormed at which shot and shell, boldly they wrought and were into the jaws of that, into the mouth of hell, wrought the 600. So like I told you, the enemies and them, the weapons which they used were totally different. The enemies, they have cannon, this type of weapons. So they were trapped in the battlefield. Their right of them, there is cannon. On the left of them, there is cannon. In the front of them, there is cannon. So what we can imagine here is that in the battlefield, wherever they turned to, they were trapped. The enemies surrounded them. So this cannon, they volleyed and thundered, means they were firing against them. And storm at which shot and shell, there were lots of bullets and guns right in front of them, right at the left of them, right at the right of them. However, they bravely, they wrought and they fight into the battlefield, into the jaws of that. They know that they are going to die. They know that they are going towards the mouth of hell. However, bravely they fight against the enemy. They are very loyal, they are very bold, they are very courageous. These 600 soldiers, they are nothing like an ordinary people. They are well disciplined, and they are very courageous also. They were ready to fight for their country, to sacrifice their own life. Flashed all their saber spear, flashed as they turned in air, sabering the gunners there, charging an army, while all the world wondered, plunged in the battery smoke, right through the line they broke. Cossack and Russian reeled from the saber stroke, shattered and sundered. Then they rode back, but not the 600. See, they took out their swords. The soldiers took out their swords to fight the enemies, in spite of having just a sword. You see, they know that they will be dead, because their enemies, they fought with guns. However, they flashed their swords in the air, and they were charging an enemy, and they were killing as much as they could. In the meantime, all the world wondered, like they were like all the war. We are wondering that what are they doing with just that sabers, and how are they fighting with their enemies. However, in that battery smoke, means like the enemy, the soldiers were firing so much that there was smoke, there was shelling of smoke, and the enemies were fighting back against them through guns and through artillery. So that's why the air was filled with smoke. However, with their sabers, they struck, shattered and sundered, means they killed their enemy, Cossack and the Russian. Then after killing them, some of them returned and they rode back. However, it was not the 600, which means that though they came back, though they returned, according to the boy, some men had died in the battlefield, so they were not 600 anymore. Cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them, cannon behind them, volleyed and thundered, storm at which shot and shell, while horse and hero fell, that they had fought so well, came through the jaws of death, back from the mouth of hell, all that was left of them, left of 600. So what we can see from this stanza is that you see it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These 5 lines are repeated. It's a repetition from the third stanza. We get this repetition of line just to describe how the war zone is, how the battlefield look like, how they are trapped. Like there is cannon to right of them, cannon to left of them. Wherever they turn, the position of the soldiers or the light brigade, there was no escape because this cannon were everywhere, and they were shot with shell. And here what we can see is that in this stanza, many of those whom the poet called heroes, they died along with their horses, along with their horse, but they fought so well. They give everything that they have. Okay, they fight for their country so well that even though they died in the jaws of death, in the mouth of hell, you see, later on they will be glorified by the poet. And the actual reason, or let's say the main reason behind why the poet is writing is this poem is only to glorify and immortalize these brave men, though they died at some point. So when they come back, what was left of them was not 600 but only few. Means they came back from the mouth of hell, they came back from the battlefield. These people who are alive, they are not 600 anymore. They are less than 600. Here, the number of the armies which survive is not given. However, the historians, according to them, those 600 who fought, those who came back alive, were 247. The rest of them died in the battlefield. Now coming to the last stanza. When can their glory fade? Oh, the wild charge they made. All the world wondered, honor the charge they made, honor the light brigade, noble 600. In this final stanza, the poet is asking a rhetorical question, you see. When can their glory fade? The answer is in the question itself. Like their glory, their bravery, or let's say their wild charge or their brave attack will never be forgotten by the British, right? It will live on and on in their history. And the world, when we read this poem, we can know, or we can understand from this poem, that this 600 light brigade were no ordinary soldiers. They were very brave. They do not question their commander. They do not they do not reason, or they do not question or disobey their commandant. Instead, they show their loyalty and sacrifice for their country, and they fight back, right? So their glory will never fade. Or the wild charge they made, means the wild charge, the wild attack which was made by them will never be forgotten. All the world wondered, honor the charge they made, honor the light brigade, noble 600. So the poet says that the world wondered over their achievement, the achievement of those just 600 soldiers, just 600 light brigade. We must respect them for the charge they made, and we must respect them for the sacrifices that they made for the country. They shall never be forgotten. And Alfred Lord Tennyson had successfully immortalized them in this poem also. So whoever read this poem will always come to know about them, that during the Crimean War, at the Battle of Balaclava, the 600 soldiers fight for their country, and only 247 of them, or let's say only few of them, survive. Now coming to the question, what was the command given by the commander? The command given by the commander is that they should go forward and charge the enemies. Why is the valley described as valley of death? Because the enemies, they were with heavy weapons, and they would surely shoot them, and they know that they would surely be dead once they charge. So it was named a valley of death, or let's say it was described as a valley of death. What kind of weapons did the light brigade have? They have lances and swords. What weapons did their opponents or enemies have? They have cannons and rifles. What do you think is the outcome of the battle? Support your response with evidence from the poem. the outcome of the battle is that many soldiers die. So like in the poem we come across the phrase into the jaw of that, and that phrase shows that many of them died in the battle. That they that had fought so well came through the jaws of that back from the mouth of hell explained. Here the poet sings the glory of the soldiers. They killed the enemy, as many as they could. However, the enemies, they were well equipped with guns, and so they killed them, and only few brought back from the mouth of hell. Though they had guns, the Britishers, or let's say the light brigades, they killed as much as they could. They used their sabers and they killed their enemies. That's why, though they came back from the mouth of hell, they still survived. So this is the explanation of the extract. Honor the light brigade. Why does the poet ask the people to honor the light brigade? Because the light brigade showed exemplary discipline, courage as soldiers, and they deserve respect from the people. Okay guys, I hope you understand. See you. Bye bye. Thank you.